Hi everyone. So I've made a video of this one before, but I actually got it wrong. So thanks to those who previewed it and spotted my error. So I'm going to solve this inequality in one variable, x minus 3 quantity squared times x plus 1, and it's all less than or equal to 0. If you've been watching some of my videos, I think I showed a shortcut that you can use if you have two factors raised to the power of 1. I don't have that issue going here. This factor, this x minus 3, it's getting raised to a power of 2. That changes the game, okay? Not using any shortcuts here. So instead, what I'm going to do is, let's figure out what makes this factor go to 0. Well, if I plug in a 3 in for that x, that's going to make that factor go to 0. And if I plug in a -1, it'll make that factor go to 0. So, going smallest to biggest, -1 over here and a +3 over here, I'm going to write down 3 intervals here. So from -infinity to -1 with a bracket. The reason I have a bracket is because it's less than or equal to, right? If it was just less than, then I'd have parentheses, because the bracket means that you can include the -1 as part of the answer. If I plugged in a -1 for that x, -1 plus 1 is 0, and 0 times whatever this is 0. And 0 is less than or equal to this 0. If I had a less than sign, then I'd be trying to say 0 is less than 0, and that's not possible, so that's why I would have a parentheses there. So we have a bracket on the -1. We'll also have a bracket on the 3 for the similar reasons there. So I've got 3 intervals that I need to test. I need to test between -infinity and -1. I need to test between -1 to 3, and I need to test between 3 and infinity. So in this interval, let's test a number within this interval, not on the order of the interval, but picking a number that's as close to 0 as we can get it is usually what I recommend, because it makes easier computation is what it does. So I'll test -2. So plugging it into the original function, -2 minus 3 quantity squared times a -2 plus 1, is that going to be less than or equal to 0? Well, let's see. That'll be a -5 that needs to get squared times a -1, trying to be less than or equal to 0. -5 squared is 25, and by the way, that's where I messed up the previous video. Somehow I left that as a 5. Oops. Times a -1, which by the way I'm deleting that other video. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. I'm trying to be less than or equal to 0 here, so yeah, -25 is less than or equal to 0, so that's true. Which means this interval is going to be part of my solution, okay? Alright, let's test an interval, number within this interval. I like to use 0 if it's available, and it is. So I'm going to go 0 minus 3 quantity squared times 0 plus 1 is trying to be less than or equal to 0. That's a -3 squared times a +1, trying to be less than or equal to 0. That's a +9, trying to be less than or equal to 0. And that is false, right? So that interval's out. Which leaves this guy. Let's test x equals 4 is what I would use. 4 minus 3 quantity squared times 4 plus 1, trying to be less than or equal to 0. Well, that's 1 squared times 5, trying to be less than or equal to 0, which is 1 times 5, trying to be less than or equal to 0. And that's 5 trying to be less than or equal to 0, and that's false. So that interval also works, or does not work, excuse me. So if you've been watching shortcuts that I do, if you have two factors get multiplied or divided together and they're both raised to the power of 1, usually it alternates, true, false, true, or false, true, false, so that sort of thing. But the minute you get some factor that's getting squared or something like that, that game just changed. In this one, I just have the one interval off to the left here from -infinity to -1 with a bracket on the -1 as my answer. Okay, I hope this helps. If you had any questions, if you're my student, you know where to find me. And if you don't, if you aren't my student, I don't know, post in the comments or something. All right, have a good day.